What's up, y'all? It's Shania, and I'm back with another word. I'm speaking about the Florida Civic Literacy exam, and I wanted to give you guys some tips and information about federalism. Okay, this is going to be on the test. I didn't speak about this recently, and somebody left it in my comments, so I wanted to make sure that I got it to you guys. Now, to give you a little bit of history, federalism was or is the breakdown of power between the federal government and the state. If you know anything about our history, there has always been this imbalance of power between the full government and the power of the states. All right, and back when we were a part of Great Britain's a part of Great Britain, the federal government had so much power over the states that we couldn't have our own religions. They couldn't have their own. They couldn't say too much. They couldn't do too much. They were being controlled indefinitely, and they didn't like it. So they were like, you know what? We're gonna move away. We're gonna have our own colonies. We're gonna do our own thing. But they came up with forms of government that were almost exactly like the government that they just left. So before they came up with the Constitution, they had about two forms of government that just did not work because it was almost like what they just left out of, right? Now, when it comes to federalism, because federalism is the breakdown of or the distinction between the powers of the state and the powers of the federal government, when we're talking about anti-federalism, there are a group of people who were saying, listen, okay, the Federalists came to the point, they were like, okay, since we can't create a government that gives the states all the power, we tried to give the state all the power and the federal government a little bit of power, and that didn't work. We tried to give the government full power and the states a little bit of power, and that didn't work. What if we give them something called checks and balances, where the states don't have that much power, the federal government doesn't have that power. They kind of have to share the power. All right, they have to kind of balance it out, and that's the government that we live in today, the federal government, right? I'm sorry, federalism, right? But there are a group of people called the anti-federalists that did not like that. They were like, no, if it's too balanced, the big government, the federal government is going to take control again, and they're going to have us how they had us back in Britain. We don't want to do that. That is what anti-federalism is. That is what federalism is. The fact that federalism is wanting to balance the power that the state has versus the power that the federal government has. And anti-federalism is saying, no, I don't want to balance nothing. I want the state to have all the power because they've done this to us before. And they're going to try to they, as in the federal government, are going to try to take control over everything. We don't want it. So there again, before we got to the Constitution, there was a lot of fighting against the Constitution because there were certain people who did not believe that the state and federal government could be balanced, that they would listen to each other, that it would work out. And my thing is, listen, if we're being honest, there's not a lot of balance in it right now. We living in a federalist, government right now. But y'all give me your opinions below. Is it really balanced like we think it is? I ain't gonna go into it. But that's the information. Federalism versus anti-federalism. This is what it is, okay? And this is going to be asked on your test. So make sure you're aware of it. I thank y'all for your time. If y'all got anything from this, type amen. Type what you got below. And if you've taken your test and there are any topics that I haven't spoken about recently that you want me to go into further for other people, let me know, all right? Or even topics that you guys aren't really familiar with or really are studying right now, but it's kind of hard to you. Please let me know below. I passed with the 83 after studying it for about a week, so I would love to help you guys out with that information, more tips, more tricks, whatever. All right, I love you guys. Have a great day. Bye.